Hello, everyone. My name is Vedanth, and welcome to the Data Demystified podcast. In this podcast, we talk to data science professionals from the industry and also academia to talk about their experiences in data science and also demystify some questions related to data science. In today's episode, I have the pleasure of speaking to Neema MV, a data science specialist working for the finance team at Verizon. She is also the editor of Acquired Minds, a newsletter covering motivational life lessons and book reviews as well. Welcome to the podcast, Neema. Thanks for taking out time to be a guest on our podcast.
Thank you, Vedant, for this opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Okay, so starting off, how did you get interested in data science and what was your motivation?
My interest lasted long back in 2015. So when I was doing my masters in computer science, my sole purpose was to go into software engineering. So by then I was only taking up courses that revolves around complete coding and uh, developing applications. But then in the last semester, you'll have to finish your credits. I came across a course called statistics and data science. But I didn't know about anything related to data science at that time. So, but I thought, okay, this should be interesting. So I took the course, and that's how I got interested, and that was my start. So I started taking up the course. I started doing projects related to the subject, and then when I after doing my masters, I came back to India, and uh, within a month I got job in data science, because back then it was not that competitive, and I that's how I started in data science.
Oh, that's a really nice story. So I've heard people starting from like 2017, 18 when it started booming, but it's really
Yeah.
great that you had the opportunity to start taking up courses right way back in 2015 as well. And
Yeah.
are there any resources, particular resources that benefited you the most while learning data science?
So while we were learning in 2015, Coursera was the most important sources of data science, I felt, because now you can see a lot of resources every nook and corner, but back then it was full and full Coursera and edX courses. So I took a couple of courses there, and that's how I started learning R and Python. And during my projects, while working on projects in masters, that's how I started learning Python and R. And in order to equip myself, I took up courses in Coursera, and certificates during that time was valuable that time. So I took up courses and I completed certifications, and that's how those were the resources. I did not Google much, but these courses helped me a lot.
Yeah, they still have very really high standards, Coursera and
Yeah.
edX. Yeah. And you work at Verizon in the finance team, right? So can you tell us about your day-to-day work, what you do at work, and how is the work in the industry different from like the content in online courses?
Yeah, sure. So I work in Verizon for VBG Business Group, which is the Verizon Business Group Finance team, and they have a business of Center of Excellence for Business Analytics. So basically, my per day is basically we work on one particular project which can go from a couple of months, and currently I'm working on one on a forecasting model, and my work actually my day starts at the night, because my all my colleagues are from US and some of them are in India, and but we report to managers who are in US and not from India. So we myself and my colleagues, we always constantly talk to them during night time. So that's how we get to know our task and what to be done next day. So we work on the modelings, we work on buildings, Python scripts, and we have few review meetings in between, and then we'll have to develop dashboards. So and at the end, I usually develop Tableau dashboards to make decisions and to show what we found during our analysis. And That's my experience in Verizon. And but when you ask me about how it is with respect to the online courses, it is completely, sometimes it's different because the tools and techniques are all the same. Yeah, you are going to do the whole same exploratory data analysis, modeling, stuff like that, but the data is like completely different. You are not going to be sure that you will get a better data, or it's always dirty data. So you spend a lot of time cleaning it or trying to figure out why the data is like this manner or not. So the data wise, it's like completely different. It's not same like what you do when you take up courses.
Yeah, that's a really valid point. Like I've also heard that most data scientists spend a lot of time pre-processing the data, and
Yeah.
yeah, okay. And so since the COVID era and even before that as well, so it's a general notion that students or freshers with no experience cannot break into data science. So what are your views on this? And are there any particular skills that can make them stand out from the rest?
Yeah, I think because of COVID, freshers are finding it more difficult. At the same time, I think experienced professional are also finding it difficult right now because every company has gone onto a hiring freeze, especially in India, if I can say. And with respect to freshers, I think the best they can do is to network, because I did not know when I was starting up. I did not know the importance of networking basically. So I was just doing a traditional resume submission, and then you wait for a job call, interview call, and that's how it worked for me. But right now the competition is so huge that you need to stand out. So it definitely, you will have to build your brand, and LinkedIn is a best place to showcase your brand and share things. Like when you do your projects, no one is going to know that you're going to work on a particular project unless you speak it out. So it's always better that you say something else about data science, or say what you're going to work on. It can be any simple project. It's not like you need to do every deep learning projects, because I see sometimes people just dive into deep learning at the start. So it's not like everyone has to know deep learning AI at the start. It can be as simple as a simple linear regression model. But when you speak out to people, or when you put yourself out into the crowd, that's how people know you. Because uh, for my based on my experience, I am an introvert, so I don't speak a lot. And I it took me a while to learn, like you need to speak and then put yourself out to have the opportunities, because not everyone gets opportunity. The lucky ones get, or the smart one get. So you will have to play it smart this time, because data science and analytics have been a well sort of professional nowadays. So networking and building your brand is what I can say is the skill that everyone has to possess.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think SQL is a really underrated skill according to me. And
Yeah.
I see your posts on Twitter about weekly updates on SQL. So I think
Yeah.
in my point of view, it's really important and also underrated as well.
Yeah, SQL is like, it's really underrated, because everyone take up Python learning and R programming and some machine learning concepts. But in every interview, I've been to many interviews in my span of 6 years. So it's like very mandatory. Like every time you go to any interview, it's like you that there is definitely going to be a SQL testing. So even when I started in 2011, I started my career in TCS, Tata Consultancy, and during that time also I was asked SQL questions. So it's like the main core of any data science or analytics profession.
Yeah, and do you have can you suggest any resources or good resources you know to learn SQL?
SQL, I I go with random googling. I don't take a particular resource, but and currently I'm taking up a course called Serious SQL from Danima. You everyone should be knowing him. And the course is really very good, because you can Google and find out lot of interview questions in SQL, like what is a difference between having and group by. That's all normal, but when you work on a case study and you know how it's applied to in a industry, That's how you actually learn concepts. So in the course I found that there are a couple of case studies, and the concepts revolve around it, and it's really helpful for everyone. Even a beginner can start it up. So it's really helpful to catch up, like why we use this particular syntax, or why we use this particular SQL query for this purpose. So it's really helpful. So that course is what I'm doing right now. It's like I need to upskill my SQL. I constantly try to upskill my technical knowledge. So currently I would prefer, and I would suggest this course. And at the same time, I also Google interview. Like there are a lot of resources, like 100 interview questions and answers in SQL. So those resources I sometimes just revise around. So those are just general resources, but the main resource that I would like to suggest is this course.
Yeah, and you mentioned about upskilling. I guess upskilling is the way to go in such a
Yeah,
like when data science is expanding so much every day.
yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
correct. And yeah, coming so following this same question, so data science is like an expanding ocean, and there are new things coming out every day, and we can never consider someone to become an expert, and this often leads to burnouts, demotivation, and also sometimes a fear of losing out. So how do you tackle these burnouts and demotivations if you kind of get demotivated?
Yeah, so I do get burnout and demotivated because I'll tell you, like while you start as a fresher, everybody should have in mind is not everyone is going to get a good modeling project in a company. Data science is not only modeling; it also involves analysis. Then you do visualization or any hypothesis testing. So all of these are all is a part of data science. So sometimes you just have to do some Excel reporting that gives some answers to the business. So that is also an analysis. So sometimes people do get demotivated, and they think like I'm not working I'm not working in a modeling stuff. And I have in my experience I've trained some freshers in when I worked as a senior analyst in Latin View, and I have heard some people saying their frustration, saying that we are not getting the opportunity to work on modeling. So it is a step by step process. Once you do the analysis and then gets your hands on in your R and Python, and then you can do the data analysis. But during that time, some people gets motivated and they just quickly changes of their profession or changes of the company. But one thing you have to keep in mind is you need to be patient, because this profession is completely it's so huge that there can be lot of scenarios you can work data science on, and lot of case studies. So one thing I would say to have patience and take a break. Like if you feel that you're learning a lot, you're consuming a lot of information, take a break. You can have some days you can take weekends off. You don't have to always learn on weekends. Some people do take weekends as their learning time. So that's how I take. I learned the Monday to Saturday I do stuff that I'm interested, but Sunday is a complete rest for me. I prefer to switch it off everything, so that I don't feel that I'm like constantly being pushed into this industry, or being demotivated something. So I would say take a break if you feel burnout, and be patient. Everything is going to fall in place. So when you're into this profession and then you start it up with analysis, or then you're reporting, and then you go with data visualization, eventually you are going to work on some modeling projects. There are definitely a lot of projects available you can see online. So everything is going to be on place.
Yeah, that's right. So even in my around 1.5 years of learning, I really quite being patient, and I think it's one of the most important things to keep in mind, and never give up strategy while learning as well.
Yeah.
And so you have pursued a master's degree from Northeastern University as well as a postgraduate degree in data science. So do you think that a master's degree is necessary to break into the industry? Is it a requirement, to get jobs, or does it give you an advantage over other aspirants?
My story is different because when I did my masters, I did not have a particular ambition or something. Because when I did masters, I was just following a pack of students. Like when you complete your bachelor's, there are a couple of students who immediately enroll for masters in US. So I had people around in US that time. So I joined in masters. I for computer science. Like I said, I thought of going as a software engineer only. And later on, I got to know that this is not my interest, because I am not that interested in coding, but I do code. But so that's the reason I switched my passion to data science. And uh, you don't have to you don't have to complete a master's or a PhD degree to be well equipped in data science. That's what even I think. Because uh, if your passion is to have if your passion is to have a bachelor's or like your degree, then you can very well go for it. There are a lot of I mean, pros and cons for it. But if your sole purpose is to get into a data science, that is not mandatory. uh, you can definitely go and learn, pick it up yourself. There are a lot of YouTube channels now. People are like training professionals through YouTube channels. So those are all good resources. You don't have to waste money on some education and then get the degree. And end of the time, it has to be valued by others also. So my personal experience was, I took up masters and later on I came into data science. So that is a different walkthrough for me. And and I would say, and I took postgraduate. You mentioned I took postgraduate diploma. That was basically, I wanted to put my interest onto deep learning and stuff like that. So I thought enrolling myself would give me an accountability, because I'm a working professional, so I don't get much time on work learning stuff. So when I enroll some courses, that's how I feel like, okay, I am supposed to complete a task, or I'm supposed to complete an assignment. So that's the reason I took up a postgraduate diploma. And at the same time, there are a lot of resources there you can find when you're doing a course. So that's how I developed my portfolio through the course. And that's my story. But I would suggest that if you really want to go for data masters program, you can definitely go. That's your interest. But if for the sole purpose of moving into industry, you can definitely try out different free resources and free stuff. That's much better than wasting money.
I see. And like, is it so? Suppose someone goes wants to go to a master's in the US. So, is it necessary for them to have experience in India, or it doesn't matter whether they go direct from college or after a couple of years of working in the industry?
Uh, it would be better to have few experience where before going to masters. That is what I can say. Because once you know the industry, once you know how the industry is going to span out for a couple of years, you will definitely get an idea of what to pursue. So for example, some people now directly enroll courses in masters in data science. Back then, there was no course like masters in data science. It was all computer science. So now people are like learning stuff, and they are able to choose like what you if you want analytics, or if you want marketing analytics. There are even particular stream courses like marketing, product analytics, etc. So having exposure to the industry at first will definitely equip yourself to direct. It also directs you to a place where you want to go. So that definitely helps. And at the same time, when you work on industry, you have contacts with an industry leaders. They'll also give you suggestions like what universities are best, which universities are good, and what courses are worthwhile to take rather than wasting your time. So those are all good inputs that you can get from working professional or the industry that you have worked before. So I would suggest you to have some experience before going for masters or any postgraduate program.
Yeah, I think I also resonate with the same thing that we can start looking, exploring other fields in the industry, and then come to a conclusion whether we want to do data science or not. So that's a really good
Yeah.
point. And And people generally have a problem with like domain knowledge. So domain knowledge is something which I find is the key to working on data science projects. And how do you think the learners can build their domain knowledge, and do they have to select like is it an advantage when they select a domain before actually stepping into data science? So how what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, domain knowledge is important. Yeah, it all you definitely need to know the business problems when you're going to solve a data science problem. So, but you can only, if you're starting up, it's really difficult to get to know the domain, because every organization has a different structure and a different strategy on how to face a problem. So the main thing that you can all everyone can who is starting up can do is taking up courses. Like for example, you're starting up with finance. uh, Everyone knows in finance it's almost like it's going to be forecasting solutions and time series analysis that people have you start working on. So you can definitely go and learn Investopedia. So that's how chose, because you my recruiters took me into the team, and the team mapped me into a team, another team. So that's how I started learning Investopedia, because some of the definitions are also so new that you need to equip yourself and learn faster. So definitely look into invest for finance. I can talk, like you can definitely look into Investopedia, learn what are the solutions being offered in the problems revolving in finance. And definitely that will help, because all the organizations are trying to uh, grow their revenue, as far as I can see. So what are the factors that can help, so that those things, if you start learning and know what's the business behind it, that will help a lot.
Yeah, finance and data science seems to be a really interesting field to work on. And are there any other domains that you think will boom in the future, like in the next decade, in this decade?
uh, I think healthcare will boom, because that is more. I don't hear much about healthcare, but when I was doing masters in US, a lot of data science problems were revolving around healthcare and how you do the testing, hypothetical testing and stuff like that. So I think healthcare is something that people can look into right now. The domain is actually growing. So that's what I would like to myself look into that.
Hmm.
And as usual, finance is going to be there for a long time. It's not going to go, because every organization does have a team with related to finance, and there are a lot of problems coming, and there are a lot of strategies that you can take in place. So finance and healthcare is what I can suggest.
Yeah, the healthcare is a really booming field, and I also got started with life sciences and data science. So I did not have an interest in biology, but
Yeah,
drug discovery is one field where
yeah,
there's heavy
correct.
use of deep learning and
Mm.
data science. So that's another interesting field as well. And you are also the author of a blog, and where you post about tech and lifestyle, and also the editor of the newsletter Acquire Minds. So what do you think are the benefits of writing blogs for an individual who is still learning data science, and like without actually caring about the views or the comments? So without caring about that, what do you think are the benefits of writing blogs and creating
Uh,
content in general?
yeah, so I think that's a very great. I mean, it's a great way to put yourself out there. Writing blogs and sharing your views around data science or things that you like is the way that you can speak out, because now everything is online. You don't get to meet people at all these days. So something that you write in a blog, or if it values to the community, it definitely speaks a lot than something that you're going to speak. So I would definitely go with creating content, valuable content on data science, or things that you like, so that it resonates with other people and creates value. And don't have to think about likes or views, because we are not. I mean, if your sole purpose is to go for creating a passive income, that's going to be an issue. But right now we are going to see like how we can put ourselves and out and build a brand. So for that, definitely it's going to reach out to a wider audience when you do it consistently. So when you post your content, when you share your thoughts on some topic, definitely people are going to see. And LinkedIn, for example, is a huge place where everybody can share your thoughts, communicate, and have a conversation. So when you post your blog there, or any thoughts related to data science, it will reach a lot of people. And LinkedIn is a place where nobody is going to uh, uh, like give you negative comments. I don't see much negative comments in LinkedIn rather than the other social media platforms. So it's a safe place for everybody to start posting content, if I can say. And never ever think about views or likes, because eventually it's going to get to everybody. And if your content is really valuable, definitely people are going to reach out to you and ask for suggestions, or going to follow you at the end. So that's what I would like to say, that don't need to think about any views or comments.
Yeah, that's right. So LinkedIn is really booming from the past few years, and I
Yeah.
mean it's one of the best platforms for me to keep in touch with the recent data science trends and meet up new like people, network with people like you and a few others as well. And yeah, so the final question is, if there's one thing you might change if you get a chance to start your data science journey again, what would that be?
I would have started communicating and networking before, because now I'm communicating, but back then I didn't know the importance of networking and communicating with other data leaders. So I would definitely, if I was starting back, I would definitely start with that and get to know people. Would like to have coffee chats or chats like this, so that we know what others think and how the industry is moving forward. So that will help a lot, rather than taking up courses and stuff, because you need to know how the industry is going to span out when you're taking a particular course, or you're going for a particular direction. So that is what I would definitely change, but now I'm working on it. But people who are starting, this is what this is what should be in the mind. Always network and make relationships with people, like a quality relationship. And it will speak a long time, because definitely you will get a job opportunity or any opportunities. It can come through these connections. So networking and building your personal brand is something that everyone should work on, and even I should work on.
Yeah, yeah, you really have a great presence on LinkedIn as well. So I've observed that a lot, and you post consistently. So I think consistency is one of the key factors. And yeah, you
Yes.
talked about building a personal brand. So does a personal brand give you an advantage, like to reach out to recruiters when you're, on your job search after like college or after taking up a few courses and you want to apply to jobs?
Yeah, it will help a lot, because recruiters, they I think they randomly check profiles, or take up profiles that are impressive. Because I have what I can see is, after I started posting consistently in LinkedIn, I got myself few interview calls from recruiters, which I never knew, because I'm not searching for a job right now, but still I got several interview calls. So this building a brand and showing that you're into the industry, and you're sharing your views in the data community, will definitely throw light to the recruiters, and they'll definitely get those profiles in their hand. Because that's how I understand, based on how the recruitment is taking process. So that will help a lot, building a brand. And there are a lot of data leaders are helping, like mentoring people for example, you should be aware of a person called Tom Evers, Dr. Tom Evers.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like a huge leader, like 20 years of experience in data science. So you when you talk to people like that, and you learn a lot. At the same time, when you share your views, and they have their own views, right? So when you post views in LinkedIn and talk to people and tag them, it's going to go to a wider audience. Definitely there will be a lot of recruiters in that audience. So people will definitely reach out if you do that, if you go by that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are really good points while searching for a job as well. And uh, kind of nowadays freelancing, like data science, freelancing positions and contract positions have increased a lot. And do you think it's like it's preferable to freelance? Like, can you make the same income as you do with a full-time job in a company? And what is the risk factor involved with freelancing?
Freelancing, I think currently when COVID-19, because of this COVID-19, full-time positions are at are all in hiring freeze. So now people are looking into contract positions and freelance positions, and I see in some organizations also they're taking up only contract positions. So people who are starting in data science can definitely look into contract positions. And with respect to freelancing, it is actually very tough in starting in freelancing, because you need to show your portfolio, you need to show that you're capable of finishing up a project. So that's definitely an industry where it is tough to start. But when you definitely get a project, or you hit and it goes in a way, you get a good review from a project, it's one of the best way to work on data science. Because I've heard people who earn lakhs from just freelancing, right? So not just a full-time career, and you get to you get your own time, free space to work on projects when you do freelance. Not like you need to sit 9 to 5 and be with your team, be on a review meeting. It's different. So freelancing, the risk is that it's very difficult to start. But when you flourish into the industry, it's going to be definitely the one industry that everyone wants to go, because you have your own time and space, and you can work on it. You work for your client and you get deliver it, and that's all. Like, you get the pay. So that's what I would like to say.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the 9 to 5 thing is ruled out, and you have much more
Yeah.
time freedom while freelancing as well. And do you think that working in startups right from the start of your career, uh, instead of big MNCs, gives you an edge over like learning new things
Mhm.
related to the industry? And do you think that it
Yeah.
gives an edge? What are your thoughts
Yeah,
on that?
I personally would prefer working in startups when you're starting up a career, because when you when you start your career in a startup, you get to know everything. Like, you definitely, you can even go talk to your CEO. That close when you start your career in your startup. But when you are working in a big MNC, like for example Google or Microsoft, you just work in your team. That's all. You're not going to go on another team, or you're not going to talk to. There are a lot of hierarchy, right? So you don't have that much exposure. But in startups, you can work on starting from the marketing area, from even posting out recruitment. You can definitely work on every teams. That's the freedom that you get in startup. Because when I worked in TCS, I was not very it was not that exposure, because I was just sitting and working in a computer desk, and you work on stuff that people say you to work. That's all. You don't get any exposure. But when I worked in Latin View Analytics, which was a startup back then. Uh, I got to know people who are like, even like your head office. I mean, CEOs and stuff, like people like that. So you talk to them directly. You get to know what is happening. You get to know what's the business. So all this is really will benefit people the start of the career.
Those are really good points over there to keep in mind. And thanks a lot for taking out time to talk to us today. And I'll also surely keep in touch with you